Welcome to Referral Roadmap. If you're ready to stop chasing clients and start attracting them through meaningful connections, you're in the right place. This is where we turn relationships into revenue, generosity into growth. Each week, we're going to explore strategies, stories, and my favorite, step-by-step actions that help you build a business fueled by referrals and relationships. Your next breakthrough starts right here. So let's go hit the road together. Sales is a mind game, and you have to play to win. Come on, you guys. We all know that in sales, there's a lot of emotion, but you can win it. You can lead no matter how you feel and what your emotions are. And today, that's what we're going to be talking about. How do we win even when we have emotions in sales? So excited about our guest today. Woo! But Jada, let's go a little bit deeper in the definition of what we're going to discover today.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Sales isn't just about strategy. It's really about the headspace. The deal doesn't fall apart because you don't know what to say. It falls apart because of your fear, your doubt, or your insecurity, honestly, could get in the way and be louder than that confidence that you have. So today we're just going to be talking about that inner game, how to train your mind to stay steady, even when your emotions spike, rejection stings, or that voice in your head starts lying to you. You know, Athena and I always talk about the monkey on the shoulder. So when that monkey on the shoulder starts yapping, today is what we're going to be talking about and diving deeper into how to, silence that monkey. So if you want to win in sales, you have to win upstairs first in your brain. So that is what we're talking about today. And we're very excited to have our guest on today. Thina, you want to share who we have?
Yes. You want me to? I will.
Yeah,
So I
go
just have
for
to
it.
tell you. So today we have, I know I always say it's a friend because I do have some amazing friends, but Ethan is a dear, dear friend of mine, and he has lots of sales experience and has led teams. He's a badass himself in sales. And so I'm very excited for him today to share his wisdom and just being honest about really what it takes to be good in sales. So very excited. You're going to want to listen. I want to tell everybody, thank you so much for being here. You guys know, if you've been listening or if you're just joining right now, our goal is to give you information that actually can transform your business and life. Our goal is also to give you the rubber meets the road so you can take it and actually apply it. If you know me, you know I don't believe knowledge is power. I believe the execution of it is power. That's what this is about. So please like, subscribe, and share this. This is free. Share this with somebody. We've got some amazing people. You're going to want to listen to Ethan today. It could be life-changing. You could hear that thing that could change your life today. So very excited. I do, though, Jada, have a little story.
Ooh, go ahead and share.
And it'll
I'm
be
intrigued.
short. And only I want to share this because coaching people and training people and speaking, I hear so often. Just give you an example. I will be in a room where somebody's paid me to come in and there'll be 60 people. And 60 people, and Ethan, I know you're going to relate to this, 60 people of all sales professionals, people who are 100% commission. Okay. So they have to sell to eat. And I'll ask them a very simple question. And I'm all about follow up. And I'll ask them, how many of you follow up more than 4 times? 60 people, less than 5 people raise their hand. And when I ask why, all I get is, I don't want to bother people. I'm afraid. I don't know what to say. It's all fear based. It's all emotional based. When I ask people why you don't prospect, because most don't. When I ask why they don't, I don't want to be rejected. I don't want, etc. Again, emotional based. And what is happening is these people are allowing the emotions to drive the bus, and they're robbing themselves of their potential. They're robbing themselves of their paycheck potential, their growth potential, and they're robbing themselves of seeing how amazing they are. And I think for me, that's the thing that gets me more than the money is I want you to know that if you can get through this, you will see you have so much more potential. You have so much more ability and competence than you are allowing yourself. And I want your eyes to be open that if you can get through this, that you're more amazing than you think you are. Because it shatters my heart when I'm in those situations and I see some amazing people and I see them sabotaging themselves. And, that breaks my heart. I don't like to see people sabotaging their own capabilities and their success. And so I really hope today that people are gonna listen to what my friend has to say and that we can give you some strategy so that you actually allow yourself to see the potential and the earnings. Let's just be honest, I mean, I want you to see your potential, but some of you, most people are motivated for money. And so you get the money when you get over this too, right? So my husband is far more motivated by money than I am, and he would tell you I do it for the money. So whatever your motivation
He does it
is,
for the cars, let's be real.
he does it for the cars. That's exactly it. He does it for the cars. Yes. And side note, this is kind of funny. Last night we're sitting there. We have 20 minutes before we have to go to bed because we get up early. And what do we watch? We watch literally 11 minutes of a Ferrari going down the Autobahn.
Wish I could say I was shocked, that's hilarious.
What? I have 20 minutes. This is what we're doing. I'm like, okay, I must love you. But anyway, so someday we'll have my husband on this podcast and you guys will be like, oh my gosh, now we know him. All right. So tell us a little bit about Ethan before we bring him really on stage and start asking him all the questions.
Yeah, so Ethan Rutter right now, he is the sales manager at CurePay, a company that helps businesses simplify and optimize how they take payments through cutting edge credit card processing solutions. After leaving the corporate world in 2019, Ethan dove headfirst into sales and honestly never looked back. So, in just a few short years, he's carved out a reputation for leading from the front, developing high performing teams, and consistently delivering results without the ego, which is, sometimes uncommon for leaders in that kind of industry. So, Ethan's known for his real world, no fluff approach to selling. Ethan brings a mix of strategy, grit, and humility to everything he does. Today, he joins the podcast to share what's actually working in sales right now and how to build a team that wins on the field, not just in theory. So, that is who Ethan is, and that's why he's here. And we're so excited. So, welcome, Ethan.
Thank you for having me.
I'm
We're
excited.
Excited to be here.
Awesome. All right, Ethan, are you ready to like bring it for real for these people?
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So my first question is from the outside, you honestly, friend, seem unshakable. You seem like you could go do anything and nothing would ever break your confidence and that, you got tortoise shell on you. But was there ever a moment in your career where you had doubt or emotion even got the best of you? Anytime. And I really want the audience to hear, did that happen to you? And then how did you push through it?
I would say multiple times, right? I mean, let's be real. We know sales is emotional. It still happens,
Hmm.
right? The biggest time was early on in when I first got started in sales, 100% commission, and I wasn't making sales, right? I,
Hmm.
I made one, so I knew I could do it. And then beyond that, I hit just kind of a wall. And for whatever reason, I leaned on the wrong thing, which was the script, making sure that the words were perfect.
Hmm.
And that led down a not great path of not selling deals, not making money, costing us money. And I remember so when I first got into sales, I was so afraid I wouldn't give up my corporate job, so I did both for 4 months. I worked at a
Hmm.
flour mill,
Hmm.
and it was not a easy job, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was sweaty and gross and covered in flour all day, and then in the evening time I'd go run appointments for sales
Hmm.
and I just remember driving, working all week, 40, 50 hours at the flour mill. I drove to Kansas City um, on a Friday afternoon to go sell deals. That was where the most opportunity was. And so I drove 3 hours from Wichita, Kansas to Kansas City. And I
Wow.
ran two appointments Friday night, didn't sell, slept in a hotel room. And then had 3 appointments the following day on Saturday, didn't sell any of them, and mind you, this was after, oh my goodness, at least 20, 25 opportunities, and, just it didn't happen, and it was tough driving back, and all those
Mm. Yeah.
emotions, like,
Mm.
"Can I do this? Is this,"
Mhm.
and I described it as that if I had that impending doom of, "Oh, I'm gonna work at this flour mill the rest of my life," and, it
You're getting
it
emotional. You
just
feel it, don't you? Yeah.
oh, yeah, and, it was just like, "Man, like,
Mhm.
what am I doing?" You
Yeah.
know? And, I remember having those thoughts, 3-hour drive back, tail tucked between my legs, basically, and just like, "Crap, what do I need to do for my family?" And, it 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 took going on vacation, ironically enough, drove all the way back, and, that following, I believe it was that following week, we went on vacation, went on a cruise, and, I read a book. I never even finished the book, candidly. I never did. I read probably 80, 90% of it. It was just a book by Bobby Bones. It was kind of a self-help, get your mind right type book, uh, called Fight, Grind, Repeat, ironically enough. And, I came back from vacation, and after, oh my goodness, I bet I went on 32, 34 demos. Selling, that's when I was selling water filtration to, business to consumer. And, I came back and sold the very first deal coming back, and then the next one, the next one, the next one. And it, it just kind of opened my eyes to what was possible. And the biggest shift wasn't, it's not that I knew the words better or anything like that, but, so often in sales, we forget the most important part, which is just to be ourselves.
Mm.
And that was really the switch that flipped for me. And I was still scared, right? I didn't want to give up my corporate,
Mhm.
salary, and go into 100% commission. But once those started hitting, and then I hit the next roadblock, which was, cancellations, which is a whole nother mind game. You get the deal, you got that emotional roller coaster,
Mhm.
and just had to work through that, and ultimately, ended up giving up my corporate job, and went all in on sales. Looking back, I wish I would have done it, much earlier. But it was a roller coaster.
Mhm.
When especially when I first got started, because I saw some success, and then that went way down, a deep path of, holy cow, like, I I don't know if I can do this, so really, having to dig myself out of that mental hole, right, and, claw my way back up, was it was tough. um I'm thankful for it, though,
Yeah.
that it the early moments in sales, um helps create the resiliency that we have to have. It's, if you think coming into sales, it's just going to be a fairy tale, and, money rolling in left and right, and you're not going to have to face any challenges or anything like that. It's a very different story.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're selling to customers. So,
Mhm. And so tell me, okay, so you read a book.
mhm.
What made okay, I'm gonna ask you, what made you think to even get the book?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when I first got into sales, it was, reading sales books, and I was trying to learn more and more about sales and closing, and, the psychology that goes into sales. Um, but the missing piece there was the psychology of myself, right? And how to understand, myself, and, what really, what do people need? How to sell, right? And if you're not genuine, and you're trying to be fake, or you try to lean on one tactic over another, and early on, like, I leaned on hard closing, high pressure, and that got me deals, but that also got me a lot of cancels, as well. So I it was just another one of those things that I had to work through, and that was just kind of early on, learning that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that about it's interesting that I think when people go into sales, I know I did when I went into sales. Now I've been in sales since I was 18. And 18, I wasn't really big into reading yet. Um, but what I found interesting is I started reading every manager because I was a manager at 18 already. So I was leading sales teams and I was reading a lot of management books when I really needed to be reading mindset books,
Mm.
right? I did a lot of leadership boo-boos, because my mindset and my own personal wasn't right. So I think that's interesting. I think that people need to hear that because a lot of people go straight to, I'm going to read the, I'm going to how to close thing. And I really want you guys to hear, if you want to go into sales, and part of my 10-step process, actually, the number one step is mindset. I didn't do that by accident. I did it on purpose. And Ethan is telling you that right now. And so I really want you guys who are listening, you've got to understand and work on your mindset, know who you are, and authentically show up as yourself. So I hope you guys hear that. Now, Ethan, I want to unpack a little bit. So you read a book, you went out there and you did it. What was your motivation? What was that thing that got you up every day and made you not quit?
You know, trying to find my calling more than
Yeah. Okay.
anything.
Yeah.
I kind of my professional career was filled with, um, a lot of different changes. I started out when I was, early on, being a mechanic at a shop when I was, 16 years old, and then going and working in retail sales, which I didn't really understand was sales, and then just I tried so many different jobs, and I never really saw myself doing that, because what I was taught was you go work at the same job for 40 years and then you retire, right? That's how a lot of, parents are. It's that consistency, and just trying to find, and that's what I had worked my way through, and got to the point where it's just like, this isn't it. Like, this isn't, I'm not passionate about this. I know God made me for more. I just didn't know exactly what that was for yet. And I was, oh my goodness, I was in my late 20s before I really got into sales, and understanding it. And I tried a lot of different jobs, prior to that, and that was, once I realized it, that now I'm home.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now it's time to continue to grow and, develop. So
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's interesting. I wonder sometimes people who are in sales, I think it's really important that you guys have a reason to be there. Okay. You need to have I know people say have a why. You do need a why in sales because Ethan, sales we know is emotional. And even for you, the pros like you, who I know you lead big sales teams now and you have done very well financially in sales. But how do you personally resist the mindset of dealing with rejection or the pressure when it starts piling up? How do you deal with that?
I use my past. It's so easy to hear the online coaches of, wake up in the morning and go work out and get your mind right and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think
Uh-huh.
that is great, and works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But in the stage of life that we're in right now, I really value my sleep. So, trying to, with a 3 and 1 year old right now, it's, you gotta sleep when you can. Um, so waking up early and, doing that, uh, it's not my thing right now, right?
Mhm.
So for me, what I do is I just lean on my past. I look back at how far I've came,
Mhm.
and I use that as leverage to understand that, my worst day in sales, I'm always going to be happier knowing that I'm on the right path
Mm.
than what I was.
Yeah,
And that's really what I focus on.
that's great.
There's anybody that's in sales, it doesn't matter how long they're in, we're always going to face adversity.
Mhm.
That's just the reality of it.
Preach it.
So you have to pick something. You have to find something that ties back to your why and what you're passionate about. And for me, it's all those things that I had done, you
Mhm.
know, um, professionally to make a living.
Mhm.
Now it's so that's really what I lean on. When I have my tough days, which I do, right? Um, that's my focus, right? My worst day does not matter what it is, whether I go in and I get beat up or cussed at or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It happens in sales every day.
It does.
I just look back and think, man, I'm glad to be here, and focus on, the just being positive and appreciating where I'm at and appreciating the fact that, I got that opportunity to, get yelled at, because at the end of the day, I get to lay my head on the pillow and know that I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Right. That's interesting that you say that. So I'm in a season right now that is requiring me uh, m- more than I would like. However, it's what I'm choosing, right? I'm choosing to 10x something. So you can't 10x something in sales, right, Ethan, without some pain. And last night I was giving my daughter a bath, and my husband was like, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going back to the year I started, if in anybody who's heard my story, the year I started with HSBC was the hardest year of my professional life. And that's a whole great story in and of itself, what I won't go into, but it was uh extremely difficult and I achieved amazing things. And so I'm sitting on the floor last night giving my daughter a bath and my husband's like, "How are you doing?" And I say, I think I need to channel the Athena that won the year at HSBC
Mm.
because she is who needs to show up for the next year. And I said, I know that's how I'm talking about myself, but I said, I did that for a year before. I achieved the impossible in a year before. I just need to channel that and remember I'm still that person, but now I'm smarter and wiser. And so that you say that, I'm like, oh, yes, that's basically what I was doing last night is pulling from that old experience and saying, you've done it before, you can do it again. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be painful, all the things, but it will be worth it. And I think that that's really important for our people to hear and for those of you who are listening, are like, well, I don't have a past to pull from. Well, then build one. You know what I mean? Go out there and build one. Be willing to scrape your knees and elbows like Ethan has in order to build that. You won't do it unless you're willing to go out and start.
Mm.
I think that's really important. Unless you're willing to go out and start and be willing to skin your knees, you're never going to build that resiliency and that history. So very important there. Um, Ethan, when you get rejected now, I know we all have the feels, but do you kind of laugh it off now?
Yeah. I mean, you have to. I
Right?
mean,
Just like
it's just I mean, you just have to for me, one thing that I've really had to teach myself over the years is it's it's just not right now, right?
yeah.
And understand that uh, whoever you're speaking with, they might just be having a bad day,
Yeah.
because I can't even tell you how many times I've gone in, had a terrible experience with a business owner now, going from, B2C to B2B sales, um, and then go back and follow up with them, and it's a completely different demeanor, right? Like, and we just have to understand that people have bad days too, just like
Mhm.
we do, and we might have caught them on a bad day.
Mhm.
So, and we can't let that stop us.
Right.
Yeah,
Jada,
you
I
might
know you
just be
can
the
speak to
straw
this.
that broke that camel's back that morning, you know? It's like
Mhm.
I was just thinking too, like, this morning, sorry, this may be a little bit of a tangent, but this morning I was on my way to drop my daughter off at daycare, and I saw 5 motorcycle cops within a 200, like, foot or 200-yard, like, area. It was a school zone, and they were I mean, on my way there, I saw 3 people pulled over. On my way home, I saw 4 and then 1 getting pulled over, and I'm like, "They're trying to make a point, obviously, but that is ruining," and in my experience, I just saw at least 8 people's mornings ruined, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm like and then they go into business and, you know, maybe something else happens and there's fires they gotta put out, and it's like, everyone has bad mornings. Like,
Mhm.
we're all human and things happen, life happens.
That's hard to remember though when you're on the phone
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's happening to you, but,
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to realize that. That's a really good point because you just don't know.
Yeah.
One thing that I will say, we at HSBC, we used to have a saying. One of my bosses used to say, "Rejection is their problem."
Mm,
And we would have that as one of our core value things, that we were like, rejection is their problem.
mm.
So we didn't, own it ourselves. Matter of fact, we used to, now it was high pressure sales, like it was dial in for dollar, high pressure sales. And we used to, Ethan, we would do a hashtags for how many times you got hung up on or cussed at. And the person who had the most at the end of the day won an award.
Oh
And
my
it wasn't because we
gosh.
were trying to get people to hang up on us, right? That wasn't the intent, but the reality is, it was happening to all of us, and that's what we really wanted everybody in at the call center to know, is like, it's happening to all of us. But and interesting enough, it typically happened, the person who won that also won the most productive for the day.
Mm.
So, something to think about there. So, hey, now you lead a team, right? And you have been leading teams, both at the water filtration company and now at Pure K. Pure how do I say it?
Cure pay.
Cure pay.
Pure
Yeah.
Pay. I never say that right. You lead different personalities. So how do you help them separate their feelings so that they continue to follow through?
I have conversations throughout every day.
Mhm.
And uh, I think the biggest thing that a lot of companies miss in sales leadership, and that's something that we really focus on at CurePay, is everybody starts from the bottom. You have to do and have done what you're training other people to do. And so when I'm having those conversations with, our different reps and different personalities, something that understanding that what they're going through, I've been through, and, the best piece of advice, because sales leadership is sales. Like that's just the reality of it. It is sales. It's constant, right? And being able to empathize with them, just like you have to be able to do with, somebody that you're selling to. That's a huge part about what we focus on, is understanding where they're at. And something that I was taught by a great friend of mine, Seth Humphrey, was that it's so easy to just simply tell people something, right? But to be able to show them and focus on being the lighthouse rather than being a tugboat, and to dive just a little bit deeper in that, that's a huge part of why, leadership in our company, we're out there doing what our sales team needs to be doing as well. We're showing them the possibilities. We're talking to them about, the things that are happening, good or bad, right? Challenges or successes. But we're out there showing them. We're out there, canvassing and interacting with people, and just again being the lighthouse and showing them what's possible through just simply doing the work.
Mhm.
That's really the biggest piece. But managing different personalities, I can't sit here and say, oh, I'm great at that. All I can do is truly try to empathize with whatever situation that they're going through, and pull my past experiences from sales, or just as a person, right? And try to help them work through and always end on a positive note and with a with an action plan, right? Okay, so even understanding whether they're having a hard day or whatever the case may be, what do we need to do to move past this? How do we put that next foot in front of the other? That's really my style. And because it's like I said, it's sales at the end of the day, and for salespeople, the sale is always to keep them in a positive mindset and understand that they are greater than what they might believe in that moment.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. So, sales teams are trickery for sure. I agree with you. But if you are listening and you're a sales manager, it is critical that I think it's critical what you said that you have done it,
Mm.
right? Jada, I can say this. Tell me if I'm wrong, because Jada will call me out, y'all. If I ever say anything and I ask her, she'll be like, no, you're wrong. So just know that. But is there anything I'm asking of my team that I haven't done?
No, nothing, and you were constantly in the trenches with us,
Yeah.
like and I think, from being on your team, that's something that, 1, is admiring, it's admirable. I can, see that you're not just twiddling your thumbs and saying, "Okay, team, fight all the fires for me, do all this for me," like, you truly are in the trenches paving the way with us, and I think that that speaks the volumes, 1, to your character too, and I know you don't do well with words of affirmation, so but I think that that speaks really well to your character, but I also, just for all the sales leaders out there, like, I think that that is something if you're listening, that's something that your team may need. It may seem like that's not quote unquote your job to be in the trenches all the time with them or doing, things like that that your team may be doing, but it may be critical for your team to see that you are willing to do it and for you to pave the way to show them
Yeah.
how it can be done. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I really wanted I say that not to elevate myself. And Jada does know I struggle with compliments. I wanted to emphasize what Ethan is saying. If you're a sales leader right now and you think now that you're the boss, you don't have to go back do the hard thing, you're wrong. And I'll tell you why. And Ethan, I know you'll agree with me. You're wrong because the market changes. You're wrong because you've got to be out there and see what is happening so that you can lead well. Am I on something there? Ethan, what do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, it's hard to measure the temperature of the market if
Mhm.
you're just leaning on the conversations that you have with your team and you don't have that real world
Mhm.
experience. It's impossible. And I would even go one step further and say that great leaders in sales organizations, obviously there's levels, right? Top higher up you go in management, larger companies. Yeah, I mean, obviously you might not be able to get out there and do that, but you had it one time. And the biggest piece is for me, is there's even more pressure to lead, right? To do the things that we need them to do that we know leads to success, we know leads to deals. And that's one thing that I strive for every day. I'm taking calls. I have clients that I've built with my own personal book that I'm getting calls from, and still leading the team. And that's why I strive every day to lead numbers, right?
Mhm.
And I would argue that I probably have the most going on, but that's not an excuse.
Mm. No.
It's
Right.
just simply a way of understanding, how do I need to manage my time? What do I need to do to get out there, show what's possible, and those conversations are then much easier because if I can do it, they can do it. Even if it's just simply numbers and getting out there canvassing, right? And going out there and having conversations. Um, so for me, I put a lot more pressure on myself to truly lead by example on what I need them to do so that they can see the greatness in themselves.
Love that. So, do you have any mental? I kind of know the answer to this because I know you, but I want you to share. Do you have any mental habits, routines that help you build your toughness and stay true under pressure? that you want to share with people?
I think the biggest thing is going back to my past and, understanding, worst day in sales. And, I still have those days. I've had a lot of challenging days lately, just with personal stuff going on.
Well,
And
aren't you emerging into a whole new market?
yep,
I
yep,
mean,
we
you
are.
had enormous success, and so here's the thing too, right? I mean, I want people to hear this. You had huge success. You took a risk and you went somewhere else to have even more success. Then you had success, and so now you put yourself in a more difficult situation, didn't you?
Yep.
And
Moved to
now
a whole
it's
new
not
market.
easy.
Yep.
But
But it's the same thing.
you're
I
brave
mean,
enough to do it.
it's the same thing, right? It all boils back down to action, right? You have to take action. You have to get out there and have conversations. I'm not a huge networker by any means. I'm and naturally I'm a homebody, especially with young kids at this point, and I'm very introverted for the most part. I always describe myself as the most introverted extrovert you'll ever meet, right? Because if I'm not working and I'm just out in public, I don't like talking to people. Even if I know them or what, I'm always the first person to, kind of duck and just get on with my way, so it just it's just crazy to understand that as you continue to develop and know, hey, this is how I provide for my family, and these are the things that I have to do. It all just simply boils down to just simply doing the work, and doing the things that I know I have to do. Whether it's easy or hard, it doesn't matter. It's still the same thing. It's work at the end of the day.
Mhm. Yeah, I know for me, I'll just say I've seen a lot of people that have morning routines that help them or
Hmm.
evening routines that were, in sales where they're like, okay, I'm gonna pep myself up or I'm going to, you know, close myself down. In order to handle that. I know my husband who is for, oh my goodness, 13 years has been 100% commission, very high demand, high stress, and he has a high ability to work with somebody for a long time and still lose the deal not because of his own issues. So a lot of volatility, a lot of stress. And one of the things that he does, and it's really funny when he comes home from work, I can literally hear the car running in the driveway, and he's just out there either finishing up a call, listening to music, or doing whatever he needs to do so that he's ready when he walks in to be in a different space. And it's an interesting thing, and, I don't even think if I asked him that he would say he does that on purpose. He just does it. And I always know when he's there because the dog goes to the door and is, like, whining that daddy's home, but daddy stays out there for a good 10 minutes or so before he comes in to from all of that. So, I think it's important that, you guys that are listening that, yeah, it's just a job. It's just a job, right? And we can do it. So when your salespeople, let's say you have a call today and you have a salesperson that is stuck and they're struggling. What do you do to pep them back up?
I really would say any sales rep that gets into a position of stuck,
Mhm.
the number one thing that I see is they lose the focus on being solution minded,
Mm.
because they get so caught up in the problem and what's going on,
Mhm.
instead of trying to figure out how to fix it. It's kind of like sulking in it, right? And we naturally, as humans, we want others to feel bad for us, and in sales, we have to be solution minded. And uh, that's the big thing that I bring to our team is, when somebody has a challenging situation, or they don't know where to go, I have to get my brain going and figure out, hey, what's the solution, right? You've experienced this outcome, but what do we need to come up with, and how can we change this outcome? So for me, it's really just focusing on a solution, right? And trying to work towards that next best outcome, not the best outcome, but just simply that
Mhm.
next best outcome, so that we can, again, strive for the opportunity to continue the relationship, or whatever the case may be. But really, it's keeping it simple, and focusing on what solution do they need in that moment, right? And just the other piece too is sometimes they just need to vent. When asking them questions for them to come up with their own solution, I found, is a huge piece. Again, sales, right? um but sometimes they just need to vent, and as long as we that conversation ends with a good solution, and in a positive way, that's what I found to be the most successful for salespeople.
That's great. I love what you said there. Just what's the next solution? Not the
Mm.
big, what's the next? I love that. Love that. All right. So, Ethan, for all the managers, sales professionals out there, even business owners, and they are struggling with their mindset or their emotions, what's one piece of advice you want to leave with them?
I'd say find what works for you. Everybody's different, whether it's, getting in and, breaking a sweat in the morning, or, praying. Just, you have to find what works for you. Going back to your why, and just breathing, and understand that at the end of the day, no matter what happens, it's just sales. It truly is. Find your peace, and, just know that you did the best that you could, and move on. Don't don't hold on to challenging situations. Learn from them, and continue moving forward.
Love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much. Stay on because we might, as we hit the rubber meets road, have some commentary still for you. But thank you so much for your wisdom and being here. We appreciate that. I hope you guys were able to take some notes from that. But now you know we're going to do some science. It's important for us. I know we're a little nerdy, but it's important for us to do three things. We want you to hear real life strategy, life stories. We want you to understand science, and then we're going to give you practical tips. This is how it rolls with all of these. And so, the science, I love how the science typically Jada emphasizes what the questionnaires were. And by the way, she picks the science before we interview. So it's going to be interesting. What science do you have for us today, ma'am?
Well, I always got the science. So the first one is research states that salespeople with strong emotional resilience scores outperform their peers by up to 23% in closing rates. My takeaway from that research
Yeah.
specifically was that mental toughness isn't just, a nice to have item. It really is that revenue driver. The ability to recover from rejection and stay steady increases conversions. And I
Yeah.
think that just emphasizes what Ethan was talking about earlier too, he wasn't all he maybe he didn't always have that mindset, but coming back off that vacation, switched that mindset, and then he saw his results start to pile up, and so I thought that that was neat, kinda tied into what we were talking about. The second one is that 70% of sales performance is attributed to mindset, not tactics, so knowing what to say matters, but knowing how you show up and how you say it matters
Mm.
even more. Your inner game is gonna shape your outer results.
Yes.
And then lastly, according to the Journal of Applied Psychology, negative self talk increases stress hormones and decreases your performance under pressure by 10 to 15%. So if you're losing the conversation in your head, it's starting to show up in your numbers. So training those thoughts is really going to be training your
Hmm.
results.
Wow. That is so true. Ethan, I know you believe in all those numbers.
Oh, undoubtedly.
I gotta tell you though, that first one only 23% better. I would have thought that would have been higher.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
have thought so too. And
yeah,
that was
because
just one study. So, there may be others out
yeah.
there that emphasize a higher number too.
Yeah, I'm like, you better get your mind right. All right, so I want to give you guys some rubber meets the road, right? So I'm going to give you 4 ways to train your mind to win in sales. You guys ready? Hope you're taking notes, saving this. If you are on your treadmill or on a walk or whatever you're doing, save it so you can write it down for later. But number 1, catch the lie. You got to catch the lie. You got to recognize that it's a lie and you got to replace it fast. So if you hear in your voice where it says they're not interested, I'm bothering them, I'm not good at this, stop. You got to hear that negativity. Jada just said in the stats up here that if we talk negative, it's going to reduce our ability. You've got to recognize those things are lies. And I hear them a lot. And you need to train those that different. It's not the right time. I maybe this is I need to try a different approach. Anything is better than they're not interested. You don't know. Maybe you didn't ask the right question. Maybe it wasn't the right time. So it's important that you catch that and replace it with something positive. Okay? Very important. And by the way, that is a tactic I still use to this day. I still, when I am making a phone call or doing something and I'm currently having a very difficult time contacting somebody I'm trying to do a mutual uh, beneficial project with, and she's not responding. And so, what do I immediately do? Oh, she doesn't want to do business with us. She doesn't believe in it. That's where it goes first, right? And I'm like, no, stop, right? No. Okay, she's probably busy. I'm catching her the right time. I need to try a different method of how to get a hold of her. Um, uh, m- you know, whatever it is, I've got to change that to a different strategy, not the negativity. And I'm in that. Actually, I just was having this conversation with myself yesterday. So this is a tool you want to keep in your toolbox always. Start your day with a win, right? There's so much science that talks about this. Start your day with a win. So, before you do anything in the morning, make sure you're setting yourself up. Every piece of science that you read, sales coaching, my sales coaching, anything will tell you get the difficult things done first. Get those things that require the most of your energy done first. So think about, get yourself pumped up. What I've got to tell myself today? What do I got to achieve first thing this morning? Whatever it is, prep for your prospecting list. Get your brain ready to win. I know this sounds funny, and there's uh, and I don't know if he's a colonel or a general, so I apologize, but he talks about just make your bed. Like something so simple, but it's a win. So start your day with you're in control and make sure that you set up your most important things first. 3, use a reset phrase midday. Oh my gosh, my mentor Darren Hardy just came up with a really good Darren Daily on this recently. And that is he was talking about using your days in chunks, 3, 4 different quadrants. Don't let one bad thing that happened in the morning stop all your creativity all day long. Eh. What you want to do is, Darren said, is do it in, different hour chunks. But I'm going to tell you, even keep it more simple. What happened in the morning, don't let it affect you negatively in the afternoon. Okay. W- Put them in when something bad happens, somebody rejects you, something makes your emotions go, ugh. Take a pause. Take a pause and say, okay, journal it, whatever you got to do, breathe. And then say, okay, that part of the day, it has an open and a close. And I'm going to go, what's my next call? What's my next thing I'm going to do? It sounds silly, but I'm going to tell you, it allows you to not allow that emotion to keep piling up and then destroying the rest of your day. Very important. So think about that. Don't let a negative thing that happened in the morning destroy the whole day. And by the way, I just want to add a side note there. If something happens so bad, I would rather you take the day off than keep performing at half or less than half. right? I want you to think through this. Now, I'm not talking about, oh, well, somebody hurt my feelings. I'm not talking about snowflakey stuff here. I'm talking about where you got a real knockdown that kicked your rear. Take an hour or two if you need to. Go breathe. But don't just keep forging on just to forge on to fail and fail and fail. Okay. So really think about what you're doing with your day and you control those emotions, get them under control, and don't let them affect your productivity the rest of the day. Number 4, track your mindset. Really think about it. And I know this sounds funny, but ask yourself today, I woke up today. What's my mindset today? A scale 1 to 10. 10 meaning I'm crushing it. 1 means I need to go back to bed. What is your mindset for the day? Ask yourself that. And I would say ask yourself that throughout the day. And if it's low, what tools do you have to pick yourself back up? Okay. So if you're midday and you're like, man, I'm a 5, go stand outside on a patio, go for a walk, do a breathing exercise, read something positive in a book, pray, whatever it is to help that meter go back up higher. Write yourself a quick note. Think this is about taking control. We all feel the emotions. Life happens for all of us. What I'm trying to tell you is you have the ability to control your behavior and make these emotions become under your control and not them control you. And that's really critical here if you want to truly be successful in sales. And so I hope you hear those things. I know Jada will have some of those in our resource for the whole um, season, but I really want you to hear some of those. Have you ever done any of those, Ethan? Any of those?
Now that you're describing those 4 things, it kind of ties back to what you said about your husband. You don't even realize,
Yeah.
a lot of the just daily things that you do,
Hmm.
and and just kind of the other point to add, every salesperson is going to experience those things, period. Right? If you want to see success, you're going to experience challenges and different things like that. And, I think back to, I still remember one of my worst instances of that, like where I was completely blown away and just couldn't believe that what had just happened, right? And I literally was at a business the day before to do get everything set up for an installation of a point of sale, and I walked in the next morning and everything was ripped out. Business owner was cussing at me, shoved a box into my chest, like whole nine, like holy cow, like I could not believe that just happened. And as professionals, we have to keep our composure, and as a man, obviously, it's hard to do that, but those situations also can dictate your future, and that situation, I made a call to one of my leaders in our company, and I just needed to,
Hmm.
vent in that instance. And I think that everybody's going to have examples. Your leader that and whoever you work with has those examples. And I just remember, talking about it, and just like you said, I took an hour. I went and got some food, relaxed, and I went back out later that day and made another sale. And that's the key to success in sales. You have to get over those moments. They're pivotal moments, and you have to understand that it's challenges are going to happen, and don't let them define you.
Amen.
Hmm.
Amen. No, excellent. Great way to wrap this up. Um, One thing I want to challenge everybody listening, choose one thing you're going to reset. Okay. What is the thing that you're going to do that emotions have been stopping you? Is it a phone call that you know you've been needing to make, but you haven't done it? Is it a meeting or a conversation that you haven't felt brave enough? Do it today. Okay. I don't care if you feel confident. I don't care if your brain is screaming at you, don't do it. Do it. I promise you, even if you fail at it, you'll feel great because you did it. So that is the final to do today. Jada, where do we go from here?
Great question. Ethan, if people want to connect with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Either just social media, either Facebook, Ethan Rutter, and then same thing on LinkedIn. So
Perfect. And I'll make sure that both your Facebook and your LinkedIn are in the show notes. That way people can go directly there. I'll also make sure in this week's show notes, we will include the link for you to download our season 6 resource guide. We're on episode 5. So there are, up to 5 and then the next 5 episodes with full of resources. So you can get ahead, get some little goodies. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, go back, give them a listen. But in other news, our other podcast, That Shit Doesn't Define You, Stories of Hope Season 3, is also airing now. So if you haven't, go ahead, give it a listen, go check it out. But you'll have to search Athena Captain wherever you get your podcast, because they don't love that we have curse words in there. So you got to search Athena's name. So anyways, just wanted to invite you all to do that. In the show notes, I will also we have a blog on emotions driving the bus. I think that one's a good one and it's applicable to what we were talking about today. And then I'm also going to make sure to link the mindset course that Athena briefly mentioned as well. Because if you're in that place and you're just at that starting point and you're trying to get your mindset right, I think that's a really good place to start. So I'm going to make sure to link that. But otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can join us next week as Athena brings some real talk and real strategies. We'll see you next week.
Hey, thank you everybody for being here.